Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Colford, and right now I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of how to log into FamilySearch and how to access the indexing and our group that we're going to be using during this intensive. So first off, I've already logged into my account here. However, if I were coming here for the first time, let me just show you what it would look like. I'll go ahead and log out, and this is what you're going to see on your screen. So some type of login page, and all you really have to do is come over here to the sign in. If you don't have an account, go ahead and click here and then fill out the information, or you can create your free account down here. This doesn't cost anything. It just requires an email address and a little bit of information. You may have to put in some relative information, but I'm not entirely sure that's going to happen. So after you've got your account set up, go ahead and click here, which is the sign in. If you haven't set up an account, go ahead and pause the video, go ahead and do that, and then come back. All right. For those of you who do have an account, go ahead and click on sign in. Fill out your information as needed right here. And I'm on a public computer, or not a public computer, but my personal computer, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep me signed in for 2 weeks and go ahead and sign in there. Okay, so now that I'm signed in, I'm going to see a couple of things on my front page here relating to some of my relatives, and then some updates that have recently been, that have happened. I've had a couple of pictures added, including some of my relatives' gravestones and some photos from some of my old relatives as well. Now, to get into indexing, right up here at the very top, you're going to notice the indexing tab. Go ahead and click on that. It's going to create a drop-down menu. Once you can see the drop-down menu, go ahead and go down and select Web Indexing. Web indexing is going to go ahead and open up this the next unit, or the next page here. And if you go all the way to the very bottom here, you'll see groups. There are a couple of groups that I'm already a part of. If you want to find groups, go ahead and click here, Find Groups, and then select the Find Groups at the very top. And in here, what you're going to do is type in VHS for Venture High School and hit Enter. Now, VHS is going to take us to this page right here. And instead of this button right here, it's going to say Join Group. So go ahead and join the group. You can also open it up right here and join the group from the actual page. So this is the page. You're not going to see what I'm seeing right now. It's going to be a little bit different. But you'll notice that anybody that does any work in here, it's going to go ahead and index those. So I made a video previously talking about how to index. The video didn't really work out, but we went ahead and we now have a bit of information in here. It's going to talk about projects, and we don't really have an adopted project right now. For right now, I'm just leaving it up to you guys to choose your own. The other cool thing about this is that you can send me a message. If you have any issues, just shoot me a message and I can answer it through FamilySearch. Now, if you get stuck and I'm not responding to the messages through here, you can also message me via email. Okay, so let's talk about indexing. Once you've got all this set up and you've joined the group, you can go ahead and, join the group on this page. Once you've got all that set up, go ahead and click on Web Indexing. Go back here. And then we're going to go ahead and select Find Batches. So right now I have a couple of batches that I've started, and then I'm going to go back to them. But I wanted to show you guys the difference between a beginning batch and an intermediate batch. I don't know if I should attempt an advanced batch. I don't think I'm ready for that point yet, or to that point yet, but let's go ahead and find some batches. Now, when I click on Find Batches, it gives me a couple of options. Over here, my difficulty level is set to beginning, so it's only going to display records that are beginner records. I can go ahead and sort this by difficulty, or I can even search for a specific term. So let's say I want to search for birth records. I'll go ahead and type in birth, and the birth records pop up. Now for this one, this is in the beginning stages, or rather the beginning level, and there's 95% of them that have actually been batched already. It looks like this one you can't actually index because 95% of it's finished. The other ones are currently working on it. Now we do have this reviewed spot right here. However, I don't want you to review them. Reviewing doesn't actually do anything for us. We want to actually just do the indexing. So at this point, if I wanted to clear that and just look at all of the beginning records, I could just select or erase that. Now I've got access to all of the records that I can index at a beginning level. So now let's go down here. I've got U.S. Michigan naturalization records. This is from 1837 to 1933. Now, these are pretty important. So anything written prior to about 19 or 1880, I would say, is probably going to be handwritten. And when it's handwritten and not typed, it's a little more difficult to piece out. And so I'm going to show you a beginning one, and hopefully I've got this one. This one's 1915 to 1921. So chances that these are going to be typed out are actually fairly good. However, that one's not available for me to choose. Maybe I should choose, here we go, 1971 to 2008. So this is good. Let me go ahead and index this one. So I click on index, and then it's going to open up this indexing tool here for me. Okay. So the first thing that's going to pop up, it's just saying indexing images only with a name. So all that this is saying is that you shouldn't guess what it is. You should actually type exactly what's in the record and nothing more. So currently, we only have this one page right here, but this one page has a lot of information on it. This is a death record from the state of Oregon, the death index here. So we have 2001 to 2005, and this was created in 2007. And so I see a lot of names here, and it says, should this image be indexed? And I'd say, yeah, but it all depends on the project instructions. Now, if the project instructions didn't come up, you can either click here or you can click the hyperlink there. I like to go to this one right here. So I'm going to pull that up, and what it's saying for is that it needs to index all the death records. So there are certain criteria that I need on here, like the person's name, what district they died in, the date of their death, maybe a spouse, what year they were born, and then maybe a identification number on that. Everything else should be filled out with no extractable data. And I'll show you how to do that as well. So let's go ahead and click on this. This is an example of a death record. Normally, these are going to come in sheets that look like this. And again, this is the state of Oregon. So the first one right here is a last name, and you're just going to type it in, Agard. The next one is Carl, J-U-L. So I've noticed this with a couple of them. Carl is their first name, and then J-U-L is the abbreviated middle name. Now it's gonna abbreviate the middle name and the spouse's name, and so you're gonna only see bits of the spouse's full name and bits of the middle name. But you should only type what's on the page. So Carl, J-U-L, it could have been something totally different like July or Jules. However, we only want to type in what was there. So it's Carl space J-U-L. Next one is Alta right there. And then you type in the county number. in which they died, which was 26, and then the date. And so the date's a little bit different. It only accepts 3-letter abbreviations for the months. So you're going to have to get to know the months here. This is September, and I wouldn't completely type out September. I would only type the first 3 letters, SEP. Then I would go on to the next one. If you type any more than that, it's going to blank it out, and it's going to show up as an error. Now, for the day, this is the 2nd. You could type the 0 in there. That's totally fine. Or you can just put a 2. That's also just perfectly fine. And the last one is 73. Since this is between a couple of dates here, this one shows the death index between 1971 and 1980. So chances are that this was a death that took place in 1973, not 1873. All right, the last little bit here is the birth date. Occasionally, you're not going to see a day. You're just going to see the month and the year. That's fairly uncommon, but for this record, it looks like it's common. However, it only asks, and aside from the certificate number, it only asks for the date right here. And so this one would be 92. Since this person died in 73, chances are this 92 represents 1892 rather than 1992. And so we would type in 1892. Now, if you have any question whatsoever whether or not you should type in 18 or 19, just go ahead and mark that as a blank. So one or more fields may not be represented in the image when the information for a field is not present on the image. Press Control B, or you can go ahead and put no applicable data. If I seriously got to a point where this one was 98, if they died on 98 and it was 92, this could very well be a child. And so I would have to put no applicable data here because I wouldn't know what their birth date was, whether it was 1892 or 1992. So that's what you need to do. All right, so let's take a look at the rest of this. So a couple of cool things that you can do here. Yes, obviously, this is a record that needs to be indexed, so we're just going to say yes here and then click Next. And then it's going to give me 50 entries. Each entry is going to be a single line here. So the first entry will be Zeller Paul Matthias. There's no spouse listed, so that one, of course, would get a blank entry put in there. And then the county is 34. The date of death was 7/13/01. The certificate number is 01-17219, and then the birth year was 14. I'm guessing that was 1914 since they only died in 01. So what I need to do is go through here and copy in for this information here. So the deceased surname is Zeller. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Zeller and hit my tab key. And my tab key is going to take me to my next entry. This one's going to be Paul Matthias. And I'm going to just type it in exactly how it appears on the page here. Next one, it asks for the deceased name prefix. So the prefix would be Junior, Mr., Mrs., whatever. If you have any question about what this means, you can always click the question mark there, and it'll give you an example of what to put there. Since nothing's recorded here, I'm just going to go ahead and make that blank. So this is my first blank spot. Now I'm not going to leave it blank. I'm going to have to indicate that it's blank on this page. To indicate that it's blank, I can either click this button right here, which is mark the field blank, and it's going to put this in there. Or I could hit Control B on my keyboard, and it would also mark it blank. So every time you mark it blank, it's going to automatically go to the next line down. So this one right here is Zeller Paul Matthias, no spouse, so I don't have the spouse's name, the surname, or the prefix. And that takes me down to the death code. So the death code is 34, and I hit tab again. The death month is July, so I'm going to type in Jul. Like I said, only 3 letters are available. If I type any more than that, then it's gonna just make it blank. So I type in Jul, and it really doesn't have to be case sensitive, and I'll hit tab and it'll go to the next one. The date was the 13th, so I type in 13 and 2001. All right, then I go ahead and type in the certificate, which is 01-17219. And there we go. Now I'm down to the birth year, which is 1914. And the birthplace code I don't have, so I'm going to go ahead and make that blank by hitting Control B. Now, once I put blank in here, it's going to automatically go to my second entry. It's going to skip everything else for me and go directly into that. So now I can move on to this line. Now, I've found that especially with repeated names, it's hard to keep track of all these. And so I like to zoom in to the point that I have all the information on my page, and I'll line it up here with the top. Every time I type in a name, I'll move it up so that I have the current name at the very top, and then I can just put in that top line and then again move that up and so on and so forth, so I don't get any of these mixed up. Now, seeing as how Zeller's the next name down, but it was the one that I used from before. This would be a duplicate. It's not the same person, but it is the same last name. And so for that one, I could actually duplicate this one just by clicking here. I would copy this text from the same field on the previous entry, or I could hit Control D. And I hit Control D, it goes ahead and types in Zeller for me and goes into the next one. This one is going to be Richard Irving. And then I go on to the prefix, which is blank. The spouse is Arlene. Spouse's surname is Zeller. And the prefix, I'm going to leave blank. Death code is 34. Death month is August. Day is 9/2001. 2001. Now the certificate number is 01-18471. Birth year is 1931. And we're going to go ahead and leave that blank. All right, and there you go. So that pretty much lays out everything that you're going to need to do all of this. When you're finished, there are a couple of tools that you can use. I don't have enough information here to finish up and show you what it looks like. However, you will get to a certain point, and I can guarantee, well, let's see, how many are actually on here? It doesn't look like we have 50. Okay, so it looks like we only have 30, and then the other one is just cut off here at the bottom. So I could limit this to 30. Once I get to 30 in the entries, what I would do is I would come up here and I would hit the garbage can, and it's going to ask me if I want to delete the entry. And so let's say I've gotten to number 30. I go on to 31. And I don't need 31, so I hit this. I can delete this entry, or I can choose to delete all of the blank entries. Now, I don't want to do that right now because most of my entries are blank. I only have 2 that are in there currently. So I'm going to hit cancel on that one. But once you've gotten to the very end, it's also very important after you've deleted all those entries is to go to quality control. And this is going to show you how many issues still remain in the overall document. Now, since I still have 50 entries, I've only done 2 of them so far. And there are multiple entries for each one of those. I have quite a few issues. And so I can actually scroll through each one of these just by using the arrows, and I can fill it out until I've taken care of each one of them. And then this will say you have no more entries. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit submit batch. Once I hit the submit batch button, it's going to go ahead and send it for review. It's going to go through one review. Actually, it might go through a couple of reviews. People go ahead and review it and make sure that it's good. But it's kind of a good rule of thumb to go back through your own numbers, especially these numbers down here, the certificate number and the dates that are in here. More of the errors that we have actually come through here than anywhere else on this document. So make sure that you double check it before you submit it, just to make sure all the spelling's correct and the dates are correct and the numbers are correct. Now, if you get to a point that you don't have time to finish doing this and you can't leave it up on your computer, you can always go back. So you can return to web indexing. And what this does is it saves your progress. It assigns you a due date. And then it appears right here in your own batches. And so you can scroll through these and you can take a look at the batches that you're currently working on. This is the one that I'm currently working on. I can go ahead and open this up, but it shows me what my due date is. And if I go past that due date, then it's going to populate it again, and it's going to allow somebody else to open it up and modify it. But essentially what this is just it's a good reminder. You do want to finish these batches. In fact, I think the one that I was just working on is this one right here. Yeah, that's the one I was just working on. But this one down here is a completely different one. So now let me show you what an intermediate one looks like. Let's see. This one would be a fairly good one. These are death records from 1864 to 1967. So most of these are going to be handwritten. So let me go ahead and open this up. Now, in each one of these, it could simply be that I have a number of pages, but only one batch of information on each page. So one entry for each page. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. This is going to get its the things ready for me. And yeah, it looks like I have plenty of information here. These are all death certificates. So if I zoom in here, it is a death certificate, but it's all handwritten, like I was saying before. Now, when it's handwritten, and unfortunately, most of these were handwritten in cursive, which makes it that much more difficult to translate them. Occasionally, you're going to see a death record written out that looks like this, very good handwriting, but unfortunately, most of them look like this. This isn't too bad. This is still a little bit legible, but the county here is incredibly difficult to see. It looks like an L here, and it could be a U, an N, an S, an R. I don't know. I noticed this dot up here, which implies that maybe one of these letters is an I. And so the best thing to do, I know this came from Oregon, so I know it starts with an L, and it looks like there are 4 letters, and there's an I in here. So I can do a couple of things. I can actually research this and look for information relating to this here. So let me just type in Oregon counties L. Oh yeah, let's go into the list. And let's look at all the lists that begin. In fact, Wikipedia is a great place to go. And I can see the list of counties within Oregon. So it looks like I've got an LA here, which is Lane County. If I go back into the indexing tool, that doesn't look like an A. It would actually go back over this one, so that's not quite it. So it's not Lane County. Lincoln County. No, it's not. It's not that long. This is only about 4 letters long, and it doesn't see. It doesn't look like it has a C in there at all. So let's see here. No, L. What about this one? Lake County. No, it doesn't have a K in it. And that looks like that's pretty much all of my L's. So I'd have to do a little more digging here. Down here, I've got my county list. So let me type in Control F, which is find on the page, and then I can start typing L. So my L's in my counties here, or I can just go down. Oh, wow. Yeah, there are a few more L counties. So I've got Lake County, Lane County, Lincoln County, Lynn County. Well, how about that? Let me see if Lynn fits. And it looks like there's an L. It does have an I in it, and then 2 N's. So this would probably be Lynn County. Now, I want to make sure that this is as close as I can possibly be. So I want to double check this with some of the other records. Technically, a whole batch of records would come from the same county, so I could check the next one. Whew, that one's even worse than the other one. How about the third one? Yeah, that one's a little bit better. I can clearly see an I here, and then 2 N's. So, yeah, a little bit better. Oh, and there we go. Perfect. So this one clearly has an Linn, so this is absolutely Lynn. So you do have to do a little bit of digging here. However, the amount of information on here, it looks like there's really only one entry for each one. Most of the information in here is clearly labeled. So let's say state registered number. This would be the registered number here, so that would be 263. The death city doesn't really have, it does have the city listed right here. For this one, however, we would leave this blank, or there would be no information. So I've got 260 is the number. The death city wouldn't be Lynn County. It would actually just be blank. And then I'd give the deceased's name, which looks like Manly W. something. And I'm going to have to try and figure this out. But this is the difference between a beginning level and an intermediate level. Now, if you do have trouble trying to translate all of these letters, you could come up here to this handwriting sample. You could open this up and maybe make a comparison between some of these letters here. And what's really cool about this program is that you can zoom in really, really close, and you can see all of these little letters here. So utilize all of these tools. If you are looking at different language, you also have international characters that you can look at as well from here also. You can share the batch with somebody else, have them kind of co-op on the same one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just go through each one of these, try to figure out what is trying to be communicated here. Oh, I see what that is. That's Hodges. So at first I thought this was a T, but now I'm seeing that this is actually an H. Hodges. Hodges. Or it could be Hudges. I'm pretty sure it's just Hodges. It looks like this was supposed to be closed. Regardless, you do have somebody that's going to go ahead and review this for you before it's input. So best just go ahead and put in what you think it is. The people that review it are going to go over it too and make sure that you didn't make any mistakes, or maybe they can see something that you're not seeing. Okay, that's pretty much it. Each one of these acts is one entry. Just depends on how you do it. We'll talk about what these entries means later on. But one thing that I do want to make sure is that you don't start them and then not do them. When you start them and you don't finish them and they just kind of sit there, that means that if there's a record that's close to being done or a project that's close to being done, if you just leave this until the 24th of March, that means that there's information that could be used that isn't being used. So if you do start one, try to finish it as much as possible. If you can't finish it or if you need help, go ahead and share it. And we'll talk about more of that in class. If you do have questions, like I said, again, go ahead and go to our group page, send me a message, or you can email me at dcolford@venturelearning.org. Other than that, good luck and have fun.